It's interesting as well that your beginnings really were a part of those kind of like studio sessions. I think at such a young age too, but like working with a lot of, I guess, very established songwriters and a lot of like a big mix of different people. How was that experience for you? But also, how was it trying to find, I guess, your own voice? You know, like you were saying there, you were bringing in these styles that at the time definitely weren't a part of pop music. Did it feel like maybe not a struggle, but I'm just curious about that journey for you, finding your own voice as a performer when you're surrounded by this world where, by its nature, everyone's having all these kind of different inputs like that.
I mean, I remember looking for sure and searching for what it was. And early on when I had a development deal with Sony, I think it was with Sony early on, before it was like a real record deal. We were kind of feeling things out. I was 17 maybe, and the A&R there at the time goes, okay, what about surf rock? You could be surf rock. You know, you have like, these like A&Rs in here. You put your name in lights, it's gonna make you surf rock. And I just thought, it is kind of weird. Other people trying to tell me what I am because I don't think I even know. And I certainly don't want someone else to tell me. So all I knew is what I liked and what I could write. And at that point, as surprising as it is, I'd been writing and recording for years on my own. I bought an 8-track recording unit called a BR8 to zip disk when I was 13 with a little bit of inheritance money I got from my Oma. And it was about $1,000 and big spend for me at that time. And I just recorded all the time and did a fair amount of the searching in those years, in those 5 years before I even signed a publishing deal or a development deal. I was working on my sound and trying to figure it out. And it went everywhere from like acoustic to like ambient space pop to metal. I would do heavy stuff and I would just try. My metal was awful, but I would just do this on the drum pad. But it was just exploratory at that point. And when I finally got in real sessions and signed real deals, I already had a fairly good sense of at least the melody intuition that I had as a writer, and got past a lot of the kind of bad early first teenage poetry lyrics. I'd written hundreds of songs at that point, and you have to learn to throw out your stuff at the beginning. It's awful. Don't keep your first song, like it's bad. And then when I finally got in there, it was kind of just a matter of honing in on what the best side of it was. And we did do a little bit of the surf rock thing at the beginning, which it was kind of fun. And we were trying to this like pop punk thing a little bit, and then we do like acoustic, kind of where the Avril thing was at the time. Tried that, and just none of it felt quite right. And then I remember sitting down and writing February Air, and that song, I was with this guy Dave. We called him Wave at the time. He was Dave Thompson. He was in a band called Wave, who had a really big song in Canada called California. He was a good homie of mine. And we just sat down, and he was also another Sony publishing writer. And we just messed with really lo-fi sounds. And I really liked at that point in all my experience, pulling back. I felt good about pulling back. I think I was partially, an insecure person, and I was going through growth processes where I didn't want to go and jump out in front of everybody. I was kind of experiencing my teen insecurities. Plus, I grew up singing Celine Dion, and I thought that's not cool to flex your vocals right now. Everyone was doing vocal gymnastics. Everyone was whipping as high as they could in their register and doing all this stuff. And I go, okay, I'm gonna like just pretend I'm not even a singer and just focus on making really cool sounds and then sing really lo-fi. So I actually purposely pulled my vocals back and just sang really quiet and subtle, and worked on some really interesting sounds that would take the forefront instead of my voice and like my vocal skills showing off. And that's what made February Air a combination of insecurity and searching for ways to not do the things that I grew up doing.
It's so funny how that song, it feels like just hearing that story, it almost felt like that's kind of where you discovered yourself a little bit on that song. But it's
It
also where
literally is. Yeah.
it's very much where your wider audience discovered you. I mean, that was such an important song for you in so many ways and still remains so. I mean, I feel like that you can hear the influence on that in a lot of kind of newer artists, but I know that so many of your fans really cite that for obvious reasons as a very, very special moment. It's got to be quite lovely for you as an artist to know that not only is that one where you really discovered yourself, but seeing that legacy of it has got to be amazing. You like that's got to be a song that you're kind of never going to get tired of playing, right?
I love playing that song. It's such a cool moment in my sets now because over the years my music has evolved a lot, and I have kind of re-injected my ability to like flex vocally and done more energetic, confident sounding stuff versus what my first album was like. So it's more than ever exciting to have that song in the set because it is this little intimate break that shows kind of the beginnings. That song came out in '06. I mean, I don't want to do the math, but that's 18 years, right?
Wow.
Is that 18 years? That's a long time.
Jesus Christ, that's 18 years. Yeah, that's really
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
that's crazy.
That's mad.
So it is it's really cool to always include that one. I've kind of always played that
Mm.
live because I think it's something that lets me sit down and just kind of like go back to the beginning and remind myself how far it's come.